and welcome to our review, deck guide and thoughts on the Norwegian Prima cruise ship, which is one of the most modern cruise ships in the world, having been launched in August 2022. The ship is part of a new approach to cruising for the Norwegian cruise line, where this family of ships offer more outdoor space and are smaller than the previous Breakaway and Breakaway Plus class of ships. This class, known as the Prima class as she was the first to be launched, are about 300 metres in length and are capable of hosting around 3,000 guests, plus kids, and that gives them more flexibility in terms of the ports that they visit. In October 2023, we took a repositioning cruise on board the Norwegian Prima cruise ship, and whilst we enjoyed lots about the ship, there were several issues that we, and the others we sailed with, found to be not quite up to their usual standard. As a modern ship that has been built around the line's freedom at sea style of cruising, and has taken the line's popular boardwalk area to a whole new level, just how would the ship match up with the others that we have sailed on with the line? In the decade before cruising on the NCL Prima, we had sailed on the Norwegian Bliss and on the Norwegian Spirit, pre its rebuild, so we had a good idea of what it was like to sail with the line. In this review, we bring you what we liked about the ship, what we didn't like, and an overall guide to the Norwegian Prima cruise ship. As ever, don't forget to like and subscribe, and why not leave a comment below, and we would love to hear your views on the Prima. Just as is the case with all NCL's cruise ships, the onboard experience is relaxed, and whilst it is billed as a ship where you can do what you want, when you want, it is a ship where you need to plan and pre-book to be able to do that. Unfortunately, the experience wasn't always what you would hope from a holiday that you have spent a lot of money to enjoy. It's difficult to know if some staff were overworked, ill, or a bit of both, but several seem to be struggling to focus on the job at hand. Plenty of things on board were unorganised, and quite major mistakes were made throughout the trip. So we spent far too much time out of our holiday queuing to speak to people at desks to get problems sorted. We also had a unique experience on board a cruise ship, where when trying to sort out a billing issue, where the line had double charged for an excursion, the staff member at the desk simply refused to help, as seemingly they had just had enough for the day. Another issue we had was the lack of preparedness when arriving at ports, with a few of them seemingly not expecting us. This led to waiting on the ships and then everybody heading for the gangway at the same time, but for some reason the ship decided to have the fewest desks to scan yourself off with. One other big issue we faced was with the room attendant, who it seemed simply had too many rooms to deal with and just couldn't keep up. We couldn't fault their effort, but unfortunately things such as no spare toilet paper added to the bathroom led to us running out, there was food left in the room from the previous cruise, and on one day our room never got cleaned at all. On the plus side, the staff in the bars and restaurants were generally friendly, but we still ran into issues, including one waiter clearing away my wife's empty dishes and bringing her main to the table, whilst I still ate my starter. The extended boardwalk is a great upgrade on the Breakaway Plus class of ships, and was one of our favourite places to spend time on board. NCL offers a relaxed cruising experience, with no formal night, and for our journey, which was incredibly port intensive, it was a holiday full of late night and early start. If you like to eat when you want, bar hop, and leave your planning to spur of the moment thoughts, Norwegian like to think that they are the line for you, and that is what this ship has been built with in mind, and also what the onboard style is designed around. In reality, when there are 3,000 other people all trying to do what they want, when they want, somebody will miss out, so it still pays to plan in advance. As is the case for most cruise lines, there was plenty included in the base price of our trip, including food, drinks and entertainment. That included meals in the ship's main dining rooms, in the indulged food hall, and in the buffet. And in those places you could also get included drinks such as fruit juices, water, as well as tea and coffee. Entertainment wise, there are several places around the ship that feature bands playing sets, but most of the entertainment is focused on the theatre and the Sid Norman's Poorhouse. During the day, activities such as bingo and Deal or No Deal took place in the theatre, while Sid Norman's Poorhouse was the place where activities and games took place. On an evening, the theatre is split between being a stage for showcase acts such as comedians and also a big production show such as the Donna Summer musical, and then it also turns into a nightclub thanks to an innovative design where the seats can be removed from the floor. One of the things we really liked about the ship was the stadium area, a sports area located at the top of the ship where you could play plenty of free games including table tennis, mini golf, pickleball, shuffleboard and lots of other options. Also on the upper decks is a water slide, swimming pool, hot tubs and dry slides that go from the top of the ship to the boardwalk on deck 8. On that deck you will find plenty of places to sit and relax, several hot tubs and infinity pools, an art walk, the ocean walk glass floor, as well as acting as a full ship wraparound promenade deck. Other things including a large gym, kids and teen clubs and kids splash zone areas are also included. We paid the upgrade for the line's free at sea deal, which for a one-off fee of £179 we received a drinks package, 2 specialty dining meals, limited internet, and a $50 per room discount on shore excursions. There is a darts area in the stadium complex that comes at an extra cost, as does the free level go-kart track. Other included costs are for the interactive arcade known as the Galaxy Pavilion, where you can pay a per hour flat fee to try a number of virtual reality machines, or you can go on pay-per-go things such as a golf simulator. Then you've got the regular extra costs such as a spa, professional photographs, the casino, the barber's hairdresser, and all of the shopping that's offered on board. For our cruise, the entertainment was hit or miss, and not to the level we had enjoyed on our previous cruises with the line. The bands playing in the atrium were hidden in one corner and under the floor above, making it impossible to see them unless you got there early and stood in the middle of people dancing to them. With such a wide open space to utilise, why not just put them in the centre of the atrium's floor so that people at all levels can watch them perform? The entertainment acts were limited and reused over and over, and whilst we did enjoy the rock act, there wasn't a need to keep seeing them perform over and over again. The other act was a comedy juggling show, which we didn't watch so cannot comment on the quality, but again he performed numerous times. We did see the big production show on the ship, and cannot have any complaints on the quality of those performing, and if you're a Donna Summer fan, you would have had a great time. Sadly, the lack of live music in the theatre was a depressing reminder of the cutbacks on NCL, even as prices continue to rise. As previously mentioned, on some nights the theatre turned into a nightclub and had shows aimed at a more mature audience. On our sailing, we enjoyed a real mixed bag when it came to food and drink, with some meals being great, some poor, but in the main they were just there really. We started the cruise eating in the buffet, as we tend to do, especially on port intensive cruises, but that would soon change as the buffet in the Prima was the worst we have experienced on the cruise to date. To start with, the actual buffet itself is just far too small in all aspects, as there was never enough seating, and with such little space to put food out, the options were limited at best. They did try to help with the lack of seating by allowing us to use a nearby Food Republic for seating at breakfast, but that just led to the Surfside Cafe itself becoming so crowded you couldn't get to any of the buffet stations. Another big problem is the design of the buffet, where some people enter at one end from the pool deck, some enter from a lift bank in the centre, and some enter via the Surfside Grill at the other end. With its design being long and thin, this just led to everybody meeting in the centre and having nowhere to go. With the food choices being limited and repetitive, it could have been saved if the quality was good, but it was also the worst food of our 3 cruises to date with the line. As part of the free at sea deal, we took advantage of our 2 included meals at specialty restaurants by eating at Le Bistro and Los Lobos. At Los Lobos, we found the food to be okay at best, but the service was really poor. We had a relatively late booking, and it seemed that it was like our waiter was trying to rush us to get out and finish for the night. That included the aforementioned serving of my wife's main course whilst I was still eating my starter, and then he didn't bring us drinks when ordered, although the maitre d' did step in there once to top us up on our water. We had a much better experience at Le Bistro, the line's French restaurant, where it was almost the inverse experience, as the maitre d' was somewhat offish, but our waitress and servers were great. The food was also much better. In fact, my duck à l'orange was the best meal of the holiday. If the buffet was a disappointment, the indulged food hall was a great surprise and really added to our getaway. All the servers were friendly and incredibly fast, while the food not only tasted great, but it was always fresh and presented well. We loved the concept of hawker centres in Southeast Asia, with a central seated area and food cooked around you in stalls, and this soon became our go-to place for a quick bite. We only ate in the main dining room once, and it was a pleasant experience, with friendly attentive servers and decent food, but it should also said I was more pub standard than restaurant standard. We stayed in an inside cabin, room 137 on deck 11 to be precise, which had everything you would expect from a stateroom, including a large comfy bed, plenty of storage, and it also had the all-important glass door and the shower. The room was smaller than on other lines we have sailed with, for example Celebrity, but it was perfectly fine, and we would have no issue with booking it again if we were to sail on the ship. We picked the room that was close to a lift bank and not too far to walk up and down steps to and from the main passenger decks. The Prima is a great ship for those who like to go with the flow on holiday and aren't too bothered by top class food and service. If you're more of a 2 to 3 star hotel sort of person over 4 or 5 star ones, you will find the ship perfectly suited for you. As a modern vessel, there are lots of things to like about the ship and a good variety to keep most happy, but due to its design and the style of cruising with Norwegian, if you like traditional ships where you dress smart on a night to sit at the same table and spend your day sitting next to the pool and in a chair relaxing, this just isn't the ship for you. The Prima also has plenty for families to enjoy and had a much younger clientele than many ships we have sailed with, and that isn't too surprising. It is a ship perfect for families and couples. We have gone through some of the issues to watch out for on board, including tired and poorly trained staff, but those are things that easily could have changed by the time you come to sail with them. But there are some that seem to be more related to the ship itself. As mentioned, the buffet is far too small and poorly designed, so will likely be an ongoing issue for the ship. The gangway area also needs improving, as does the organisation for getting on and off the ship. We like to be kept up to date with things when on holiday, from sea conditions to the weather for the next day, and from the shows coming up to any special nights on board, but on the Prima you were kept in the dark with most things. A lot of that could be down to poor organisation on board, but the captain never spoke to us about anything, and the cruise director's only interest was in selling tickets for deal or no deal, which just reminded us of flying on a low-cost flight and constantly being asked if we wanted to buy a scratch card. We start our deck-by-deck guide on deck 5, but that only features a mix of inside and outside cabins, so we quickly move up to the front of deck 6, which is where the ground floor of the Prima Theatre and nightclub is found. Behind that is the ground floor of the main atrium, which features the Penrose bar, the cruise next desk and the shop, while the main entrance into the onboard casino also comes off the atrium. Behind the casino is the Belvedere bar, from where the entrance into the Commodore main dining room and the Cagney's Steakhouse is found. We then move up to deck 7, where again the theatre and the nightclub is at the very front, before you once again enter the main atrium, with the second level featuring the shore excursion desk, guest services, the jewellery shop, the internet cafe, and the pay extra Starbucks coffee shop. There is then a central corridor where the photo desk is, that takes you to the Sid Norman Paul House Entertainment Bar and the Improv at Sea Comedy Club. That corridor continues to the aft of the ship, where the Le Bistro French restaurant and the Metropolitan Lounge and Bar is found. Further aft, There are more restaurants, including the Hasuki Teppanyaki restaurant and the Nama Sushi and Sashimi restaurant. At the very back of the ship is the ship's largest and most impressive main dining room, known as Hudson's. It features a circular design with plenty of floor-to-ceiling windows for a light and airy feel and plenty of great views. Going up another flight of stairs and onto deck 8, which features the boardwalk wraparound promenade deck, including the La Terrazza seating area towards the very front. Inside, this is the final deck to start with the theatre and the club at the very front, which again is just before the main atrium. On this level, it features the ship's whisky bar, which sits off the atrium, whilst the impressive ocean walk is found on the outside. Also off the atrium are some shops, the photo studio, and the Onda by Scarpetta, the line's Italian restaurant that also has an outdoor seating area on the boardwalk. Also on the outside of the ship, you have the concourse, which offers a short walk through a number of sculptures on one side of the ship, whilst the other side features the outdoor seating area for the Los Lobos Mexican restaurant, which can be entered near the rear lift bank. Heading further out from there, on the outside you have the landing areas of the rush and the drop slides, plus some sunbathing areas, whilst on the inside of the ship you find a local bar and grill that also features an outdoor seating area. Out on the promenade deck you have the Infinity Beach area that has some plunge pools, sunbathing and paddling areas. At the very aft of the ship you have the must-visit Indulge food hall on the inside, with the Indulge lounge area on the outside, which also features the Soleil bar. Deck 9s through to 14 feature only cabins, although on deck 12, 13 and 14 there are haven cabins for those wanting an extra touch of luxury, whilst on deck 12 and 13 they feature the ship's studio cabin and the studio lounge for those wanting single occupancy staterooms. Deck 15 also features regular and haven staterooms, but on this deck you'll also find the Splash Academy. The spa is also on that deck, but it is at the front of deck 16 where the entrance is found, whilst the ship's Pulse Fitness Centre is at the very front of the ship. The rest of the deck is cabins, until you get to the very aft of the ship, where both the Haven restaurant and the Haven bar and grill is found. Behind those, there is an outdoor area featuring the Haven sun deck, the Haven outdoor bar and the Haven outdoor section of the restaurant, but all of those are only for those sailing in the Haven area. Deck 17 starts with the ship's wraparound observation lounge at the very front, which includes a bar, self-service food and drink, as well as incredible views thanks to floor-to-ceiling windows. In the middle of that, but totally separate, is the Galaxy Pavilion, an interactive arcade full of virtual reality simulators. The centre of the deck is where the ship's main swimming pool is found, as well as plenty of sunbathing areas, a couple of large hot tubs, the Waves pool bar and the splash area of the Wave water slide. The ship then splits into two, with the outdoor seating area for the Surfside Cafe and the main buffet down one side, and with the Palomar Mediterranean restaurant and the Food Republic Fusion restaurant down the other side. The aft of the ship features a Surfside grill, a set of stairs up a level, and the entrance into the Pay Extra Thai Beach Club. Deck 18 is also split into two, with separate sets of stairs and no lift banks offering access to the front section, although there is an outside lift for those with mobility issues. In that section there is a sun deck and the kids aqua park, while the rear section is where the ship's sports section is found, including the stadium, the bullseye and tea time. Behind them are the entrances to the drop and the rush slides, whilst the very aft of the ship is where the Prima Speedway bar is found. Deck 19 continues to be split, with the forward section featuring a small sun deck, viewing area and the entrance to the Wave water slide. The aft section is where the Prima Speedway or the go-kart track can be found, although it does wrap itself around the top 3 levels of the ship, including a viewing area on deck 20. The NCL Prima is a good looking ship with plenty of positives, but it's also a ship with plenty of issues, and whilst we wouldn't go as far as to say we wouldn't recommend sailing on her, we would only do so for experienced cruisers. That's because of the service and the issues that we came across that would likely have put us off cruising if it was our first ever cruise. But as experienced cruisers, we know that things can and tend to be better. NCL can certainly do better, and the ship's design issues can be fixed. But it doesn't seem like it is important to NCL to fix those issues, so don't expect it to happen. So all that remains to be said is thank you so much for watching. We hope you enjoyed our guide to the NCL Prima, and see you next time.